Hey, if you're pregnant over 40, I have just the community for you. It's a private community away from Facebook where women just like you come together to meet and support one another during pregnancy. To sign up for the waitlist, go to over40fabulousandpregnant.com/waitlist and be the first to know when the membership is open. I can't wait to see you inside. Welcome to Over 40 Fabulous and Pregnant. I am your host, Jamie Massey, and you're listening to episode 25. If you're looking for pregnancy stories of women over 40, you've come to the right place. Today on the show, we have Sharon from New York, who is a financial advisor and massage therapist, sharing her pregnancy story at 50. In this episode, she shares her experience using donor eggs. She also has a beautiful story of her son and why she wants 3 children. She also shares her IVF experience at 50, and she shares so many details along the way. It's a really great story. And of course, she does answer your Instagram questions. And I just got the sweetest feedback from last week. Someone said it was generous of me to continue the podcast while I'm going through a miscarriage. And you know what? This is so very therapeutic for me. It really helps me have hope that this isn't the end of my journey. I also have a super fun announcement. I am giving away 3 pairs of leather kid shoes by Starry Night Design. The giveaway is open today and it ends on March 24th, which is this Friday at midnight. I'm going to pick 3 random winners using an online random picker tool, and I'll be notifying and announcing the winners on Saturday morning. I wanted to do this giveaway to say thank you to listening to the podcast, emailing, commenting on Instagram, and of course, just being part of the community, because I wouldn't be here without you. And no matter what happens with my journey, I know I said it last week, but I will never stop celebrating other women's pregnancy stories. To be eligible to win, you must be over 40, trying to conceive, pregnant over 40, or had a baby over 40. And I'm very sorry, my friends in other countries, but this giveaway is for US only. To find out how to enter the giveaway and all of the details, go to the Instagram account and there will be a giveaway post with instructions on how to enter. I also have photos of the shoes, and oh my gosh, they're adorable. She even includes a few accessories, which are also included with the shoes. There's also a blog post that gives all of the details on the giveaway and even giveaway rules and all of those messy little fine print details. And if you want all that information, you can go to over40fabulousandpregnant.com/Starry Night Design giveaway. And what is pretty cool is that the owner of the company started following me. And when I reached out to her, she said she was also over 40, thinking about having one more. So I love the idea of doing business with other women in our community. And also, whenever I'm doing things kind of like this, I also want to know the process of the company too. So I bought a pair of shoes with my own money for my niece, of course, to experience the buying and shipping process. It was super easy and they showed up really quickly and the packaging was great and everything. They even come in this cute little drawstring bag. So I'm really excited. I hope y'all are excited about the shoes and we can do more giveaways in the future. And I want to get rid of this stupid sinus infection so bad. I sound so nasally and it's been going on for far too long and I haven't wanted to go to the doctor and I'm really close to going to the doctor at this point because I don't want to do antibiotics. But I'm afraid I might. So, with all of that said, let's get into Sharon's pregnancy story at 50. Well, Sharon, thank you so much for coming on the show. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Today, we are sharing Sharon's story at 50. So exciting. But Sharon, before we start, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I've always wanted a family, and I always said that I wasn't going to have a family until I was ready, that I could stand on my own 2 feet and support us. So I worked my way up in the financial world. I became a financial advisor, and I did that for about 20 years. Somewhere in the middle, I was starting to get burned out, and I went back to school and became a licensed massage therapist and studied nutrition and personal training because I had always had a passion for that, but wasn't really sure how I could parlay that into something. And then I found myself finally in my mid 30s, and my gynecologist had actually at one of my annual physicals had said, "What do you plan on doing about your fertility?" And I think I was 37 at the time. And I said, "What do you mean? When I'm ready, I'm going to have kids." And she said, "A lot of us expect that our fertility is going to be there for us, but it isn't always once we try it. So why don't you really go and think about this?" So I kind of went on my way thinking about it. And I thought, well, you know what? Maybe I'll go talk to a fertility doctor and look at freezing eggs because I was single and there was no prospects on the horizon. And I went in and I talked to them about it. And they said at the time, so this was probably 14 or 15 years ago. And they said that we could do eggs, but embryos defrost better than eggs. So you should make embryos. And I said, well, I don't have the other half. And he said, well, you could use a sperm donor. I said, all right, well, let me think about that. And I thought about that. And I thought, but what if I make these embryos and then I meet someone and I want to have a baby with them, but I have these babies that are someone else's kind of on ice. So I decided, you know what? I'm not out of time yet. So I don't have to address this now. And then actually just a few months later, I met my son's father and we were dating for about 9-10 months when I ended up pregnant. I got pregnant naturally with my son. I was shocked and thrilled. My parents were less than thrilled. And actually, when I told my son's father that I was pregnant, he was less than thrilled. He was divorced with 3 older teenage daughters. And that was, even though we had discussed it when it actually happened, it kind of wasn't in his wheelhouse. So I was a single mom from day one with my son. And it was great. He was my little buddy. We did everything together. Right from the day we got home from the hospital, it was just him and I.
And how old were you when you had him?
I was 39 when I had him. I had turned 39 in July and he was born at the end of November that year. And once he was about 15 months old, I kind of had the tug that I wanted more kids. I was ready,
Mm-hmm.
but I was single and was trying to figure out, well, should I give in to my impatience and look to do it again on my own, or should I give God and the universe time and see if someone comes into my life? And then at around 45, I started getting impatient again. And I started looking into fertility and figured I would just, no matter what, I was determined that I was going to have another baby. It wasn't even a thought that it could possibly not happen. And when I walked into the fertility doctor and said, let's just check my fertility, because it was probably about 11 years earlier that I had last gone to look at it. And he looked at my chart and simply said, no, nope, it's not going to happen. You're too old. I said, what do you mean I'm too old? I have a grandmother that gave birth to her youngest at 46. He said, yep, there are those outliers. It can happen, but no. I said, but my neighbor, her coworker, just gave birth at 50. She's got a 21-year-old son, and she got pregnant out of the blue. Her husband thought it was absurd, and she gave birth at 50.
Oh my God.
And he said, okay, but no, it's not going to happen.
And he was saying,
said, well,
no, just strictly based on your age.
Yeah, just based on the fact that I was 46 years old, without looking at physical status, at menstrual history, at pregnancy history, at family history, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Simply 46, no. And he even cited studies that there is a fertility clinic in France that has incredibly high success rates. And they won't even talk to anyone that's over the age of 43 because it would skew their success rates, he says.
Oh, wow.
So I started doing a lot of research on it, and all the stats really seem to end at age 42. And I really think that that's because they don't want to look bad when they post their numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of people that I've discovered that have success having pregnancies after the age of 42, whether it's natural, IUI, IVF, or donor egg IVF.
Mm-hmm.
So I had been talking to my then longtime friend, now partner, about it, Gus, and the doctor had posed the question to me of, even if we were willing to move forward with this, what are you going to do about the other half? It takes two.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, you have banks for that, don't you? We could just use donor. I wasn't ready to use donor. It happened to me, it was the same doctor that I had talked to earlier in my late 30s. I said, we were going to use donor sperm then, so why not now? And he says, yeah, well, there's a cost factor. You've got to consider that. So he was kind of putting everything on me, all of the assumptions. You're old.
Excuses, yeah.
You're single. You must be poor. It was just not good for the psyche. I was saying, no, plus the whole world, my parents, the rest of my family, friends are saying, you have beautiful, healthy son. Be happy with what you have. Why are you doing this? I said, I just feel like there's more. And my son, who was 9, at the time he was eight, I think, 8 or 9. When he was 3, he started telling me, 2.5, 3 years old, he started telling me about his memories of being in heaven with God. Now, I know not everyone believes in God or that there's anything out there bigger than us. But he started telling me that he remembered being in heaven with God and he was reached up and was holding God's hand, and they were walking along and looking at the different choices of moms, and that together, him and God selected me. I tear up every time.
Oh my gosh.
And he said that when he was about to be born, there were two other babies that wanted to go. And he told them, I'm going to go first. I'm going to be your big brother. So I'm going to go first and then you're going to come later.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And this is why I only put mascara on the top lashes anymore. Since becoming a mom, I have become a complete sap and cry all the time. He started telling me about it when he was 3, just picking me out. And then he used to, at 2 years old, he would push his belly way out and he would say, Mama, rub the babies in my belly. And he always said babies. There were always 2 babies. And once he could articulate more, and I would ask him about it, that's what he explained. He was like 3.5, that there were 2 other babies, that they're going to come to us. So when I had Bailey, when I laid her in his arms, he looked down at her with tears in his eyes. And he said, I've waited my whole life for you.
Oh my gosh.
He wanted to be in the delivery room because he said if there was only one person, he deserved to be in the delivery room because he has waited the longest, longer than her dad, for her to come here. A friend of mine, when I was telling her about how he said he was holding God's hand in heaven, told me that her 4-year-old had asked her one day, Mommy, did God hold my hand when I was in heaven? And she said, after hearing my story of Aiden, my older son, yes, he must have.
Uh-huh.
Because if these babies remember these things, how incredible.
What a beautiful story.
So he is determined that there is another baby coming for us. So when Gus says, I'm done, can't you just be happy with what you have? You have your son, you have your daughter. I said, well, if I listened to what everyone said and was happy with what I had, we wouldn't have her.
Uh-huh.
Like, I kind of feel like this is coming from something greater than us to try.
Before we get into your pregnancy, will you tell us about, your IVF journey with her a little bit, and then also, the 2-week wait and what it was like finding out that you were pregnant with her?
Yeah. We had been trying to get pregnant on our own for 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I said, okay, it's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. We need help. I said, let's look at donor eggs. And Gus said, absolutely not. It's either both of us or it's neither of us. So I had read an article that there is a new crisis, a new epidemic, if you will, of abandoned embryos, because people do IVF and they may get 15 embryos. And let's say they're all good embryos and they go forward and they have their 3 kids. And now they have 12 embryos on ice.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to determine, what are you going to do with those embryos?
Yes.
Your choices are keep them on ice forever, destroy them, donate them to science, or put them up for adoption. And they call that snowflake adoption.
Yes.
So I had decided, so I said, what about this was going to be my great plan to get him on board. I said, they're like baby orphan seeds.
Mm-hmm.
All they need is a little bit of love and warmth, and they're the next generation.
Mm-hmm. And
he thought about it, and he first said, you're insane. Baby orphan seeds. What? I said, no, but they are. They are a life. and they're in suspended animation for what could be eternity. And he said, yeah, okay, let's look into that. So we looked into that. My particular fertility doctor that I ended up with, they had a policy that they said at the time, I don't know if they still have this policy, that they promise that their embryos will go to families substantially similar to their own, which means they couldn't have been over the age of 45. So 45 was their cutoff. So I asked them to put it before their board and please waive this, because I really felt that this was the route that we were going to go. And they had their monthly board meeting, and they said, nope, it was unanimous. We will not bend that rule. Now, there are clinics that I've found. I was doing research for a friend of mine who's over 45 who thought about the idea of using a fertility clinic to have more. And there are now clinics that do not discriminate against anything: age, race, religion, sexual orientation, nothing. If you have a uterus and you want to have a baby, or you have use of a uterus through a surrogate, you can adopt embryos through them. But my doctor at the time said no. So then it was, okay, so now you can do fresh eggs or you could do frozen eggs. Frozen eggs are a lot cheaper off the bat. Using the frozen eggs, you would get a lot of six, and it's $20,000.
Yep.
And then we started looking at, okay, so how does this really work? So you get six. They expect that half of those will defrost well. So now you have three. They expect half of those will fertilize well. Now you have one, maybe two. And the success rate is 30 to 40% with frozen versus 40 to 50% for fresh. If it doesn't work, now you start over. Pick out a new donor, 20,000, 6 eggs, and you go through. Some clinics have a guarantee that if you go, I think it's like 6 rounds, they guarantee that you will get pregnant or you get some kind of a refund. But 6 rounds at that.
That's a lot of time.
20,000 a pop.
Yeah.
And what if it works on the 6th round? You're $120,000 in.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. I was willing to pull everything that I had to put towards this. I would empty retirement accounts. I would empty other investment accounts. I would set up a payment plan, but $120,000 potentially. I said, that's really steep. What happens? And we were looking at the National Donor Egg Bank. Nice thing about that is you can see pictures of people.
Yeah.
Local, you don't get pictures. So we were being sent profiles. It kind of reminded me of online dating.
Yes, we felt the same way.
Where it's kind of fun at first.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Like your head starts swimming. So we looked at fresh. If we did fresh, if we took the whole lot of eggs ourselves, it was 34,000, but you get everything. And if it doesn't work, you're going to have more to use. So right when I said, maybe, I called up my donor egg coordinator and I said, maybe we'll consider fresh. She said, someone just walked in. That is you. Strawberry blonde, fair skin, freckles, athletic. Looks like she could be your sister or your cousin.
Wow.
Really? Because one of the things you grapple with was, do I pick someone that looks like me? So my child looks like me? Or does that not matter? Well, I know parents that conceive naturally and the child looks like a clone of the dad. Like, was the mom even involved?
Right.
So does that really matter? But that's really part of what you go through when you're grappling and coming to terms with, I might not have my own genetic child, because if you're having your own genetic child, they might have your eyes. They might have your hair.
Right.
They might have your cleft chin if you have it, you know.
Or
But
even your
if you use
personality too.
Yeah, they might. But if you're not using your eggs, there's no chance.
Yeah.
But if you conceive naturally, it might just be a stamped out clone of your husband. So I was like, well, I don't know. We hadn't looked at anyone that was remotely similar in coloring to me. So when she said this and she sent us the profile, and we're looking through the profile, and she's got very similar educational background to me and hobbies. And the only big glaring difference is I'm 5'4", she's 5'8". And I said, well, height is not a bad thing.
Uh-huh.
Now, my son was 10 at the time, and he was very involved. He was reading all the profiles with us.
How funny this 10-year-old is involved. That's so awesome.
He was involved every step of the way. And I read the profile over and I said, wow, I think I like that. Gus was at work and my son was home from school. So I said, here, read this. And he read it and he said, that's the one.
And how old was she?
She's 30 years old. She's donated before.
Okay.
To this clinic.
Mm-hmm.
So
she's a proven donor.
Yeah, which I didn't even know that was a thing. We picked it and I started going. I had to go for my testing, and right when I was about to start my testing, I had to go for a stress test. Everything was shut down for COVID. So everything came to a screeching halt. They were not going to do a treadmill stress test where you're breathing heavy when everyone's afraid that this virus is everywhere. So we got pushed off a year. And I was actually the very first stress test that the hospital, Stony Brook, did after things were starting to reopen. So I was finally able to get my physical, get my stress test. You know, they check you top to bottom, inside and out. I had to get my mammogram. I had to get my pap smear. They check you for every STD. They check every level in your blood. You've probably never had so many vials of blood taken, but they want to know if we're going to do this, that we're as much as possible ensuring success. So I jumped through all the hoops. I got my clean bill of health. And then we had to start with, then it was the injections. I went and I met with my donor egg coordinator. Now, my insurance doesn't cover any of this.
Now, one question, when you had to do all the testing, was that because of your age or was this standard procedure?
Standard.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that's standard. Everyone has to go through that. And to do another one, I've got to go through all of the testing too, which was fine. Okay. It kind of gave me peace of mind, because one thing people would plant seeds, trying to plant seeds of doubt is, it's unfair to be such an old mom because you're not going to be here to see your child grow up. And I would say, well, okay, so it makes me feel better that I got a clean bill of health to know that I was in just as good a health as at 49 as I was when I was 30. So that made me feel good. And it's all kind of surreal when you're going through it because you're doing these steps, but like, is it really going to happen? Like, you're determined that it's going to happen, but is it really going to happen? And then when you go in and you get your schedule of all your meds, and it's got your egg donor schedule on it too. And you go in and you get your sonogram and they check your lining, and then it all starts to become real. And we ordered the medications, and it was I think there was, if I'm remembering correctly, there was something that I had to take oral, and then there were little needles, like kind of like an insulin needle that go in your belly.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had to start the big progesterone needles in the muscle in the butt. And you order the medication, and you've got, it all goes very fast at that point, because you start doing your medications, and then everything has to stick to a really strict schedule for when you do this. You have to coordinate with the other person. And that's when it gets real, really real.
Yeah.
And you get nervous. Then you're kind of, there's that kind of, oh shit feeling. This is what I've wanted, but what am I doing?
Right. Yeah. There's the want, and then there's the reality of getting it. And you're like, whoa.
Yeah. Like, this is about to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Check myself. This is what I've always wanted. I've been planning for this.
Yeah.
I've already spent X amount of dollars on tests and appointments and medications. And now this is the week it's going to happen. And then you take that needle, the little needles, the ones that go in your belly, those are nothing. You don't even feel them. Those needles aren't even scary. You can barely see them. Then it's time for the progesterone, whatever. And you take out those needles, and they are like this. And you go, oh.
I hear those are bad.
Like, I have to stick that in myself.
Uh-huh.
Because that first needle needed to be done at like 3 p.m. Gus is at work. Aiden's just getting home from school. It was like, what am I going to do? And you're standing there and you're staring at this. And there's the drawing needle, which is like this big. And then there's the only slightly smaller injecting needle, and you switch it. And you're just standing there like, oh, am I really going to jab this drinking straw into me? And you know what? The anticipation is 10,000 times worse than the actual injection.
Yeah, definitely.
The injection wasn't bad at all. I did 90% of my injections myself. My son wanted to be involved, so I actually let him do a couple of them.
Oh my gosh.
My 10-year-old did 2 or 3 of my injections. I said, this is crazy and kind of cool. And if there was a way that I could have gotten a picture of it,
oh yes,
I would have, because he wasn't squeamish. He did a great job. I was a little nervous. He was cool, calm, and collected, steady hand. I messed them up worse than he ever did. There was the one time, they say you got to be careful. Don't hit a vein when you do the injection. Have you ever experienced that, where you hit a vein?
I never made it to those shots.
Yeah. When you hit a vein, you put it in, it doesn't quite inject right because it's supposed to go into the muscle. And when you pull the needle out, blood shoots out.
Oh my.
And it kind of looks like someone was murdered, because now there's stream of blood across your bathroom. Yeah, I did that twice. And you end up developing knots in the muscle. So you kind of end up with like this shelf along the backside of your hip. And they're hard, and it shows through clothes. And that part was not fun. They tried to wean me off at 10 weeks, but I started bleeding. So I started the injections again. I had to take progesterone suppositories with my son up until 12 weeks. So my body just doesn't make enough. So the fertility doctor had said, no, it's fine. I'm sure the bleeding is nothing. But I called the OB and I said, listen, I'm not asking. I'm telling you, I'm continuing the shots. Just wanted to let you know. And I need another prescription because I don't have enough for another 2 weeks. So he called me back and said, I completely agree. Some people can wean by 10 weeks. Some people can't.
Mm-hmm.
So continue. So I did. Yeah. Once we got to the transfer, when they did the egg retrieval, they got 18 eggs.
Wow.
From the donor.
That's great.
They got 18 eggs. 13 were mature and viable eggs. So they pulled 18. We got 13.
Mm-hmm.
Gus went and did his thing.
Exactly.
And they got the good swimmers out. And 10 of those 13 eggs fertilized. They do the transfer on day 5. Years ago, they did day 3 transfers. But they found that something happens sometimes between day 3 and day 5. So if they wait until day 5, they see much more success.
Mm-hmm.
So on day 5, we only had one embryo that was ready.
Whoa.
And they like to freeze them on day 5. We had one.
Whoa.
So I went in for my transfer, and they said, we're going to give them a little bit longer. We'll give them an extra day, maybe 2. And see what they do. So I went in for the transfer, and it was all kind of anticlimactic.
Uh-huh.
You go in and they call you in, and you walk into the room after you get changed and lay down, and they come over and they have the sonogram. They're doing the sonogram on your belly so they can see exactly where it's going to go. And they put the little pipette in and they push the button, and you see it go down, and then it disappears. You don't see it once it's out of the tube.
Uh-huh.
I couldn't see it. A friend of mine who had done it said she saw it, and it was kind of like a little pinball game. As soon as it reached the end, I couldn't see it anymore.
Uh-huh.
And then they wheel you over into this waiting area afterwards. Everyone's in their own little thing, and they say, just lay here for 10 minutes and then get dressed and go. And I was terrified.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to stand up and it's just going to fall out.
Yeah.
Like, no, can't wait. Like, should I walk out of here on my hands or something?
Put a plug up there.
Like, yeah, like something. We gotta keep it up there. So I set a time, they set a timer. They're like, when the timer's done, leave 10 minutes. I stayed there for 40 minutes. They weren't coming in to throw me out. They were all busy doing their thing. I stayed there for 40 minutes. I figured, no, I was sure it was going to fall out after 10 minutes. Stayed there for 40 minutes, walked out like I was trying not to pee myself. Like I got to keep the legs together. Got to keep it. Got home, laid down on the couch with a pillow under my hips. None of that was in the instructions. They just said, lay there for 10 minutes and then go about your way. Don't go running. Don't go jumping on a trampoline. Just kind of have a leisurely day, but a normal day.
Uh-huh.
I was just terrified that it wasn't going to work. So I became a lady of leisure that day and spent the day on the couch. And then there's the wait.
Yeah.
There's the 2-week wait. And I know people that have actually done pregnancy tests themselves, the pee on a stick. And I was afraid to do it. I was like, well, we're just going to wait. We're just going to 2 weeks. I'm going to try not to think about it. And just it. Let's just go about normal. And I was at the gas station 2 weeks later, getting gas right around the corner. And it was before I was going to go pick my son up from school. And the doctor, I saw the number come up on my phone. Like, oh, that's them. And it was the doctor calling.
Uh-oh.
And you don't ever, once you have your initial meeting with him, you never really see the doctor again.
Right.
Because everyone, you've got the donor egg coordinator, you've got the nurses, they all do it. So I was really surprised when I heard his voice. And he said, Sharon? I said, yes. I said, does this mean, did it work? Did it not work? He said, well, let's just say we're off to a good start. I said, so I'm pregnant? I'm pregnant. I'm really pregnant? It worked? He said, we're off to a good start. Yes, you are pregnant. Come in 2 days and we'll check your bloods. So I went in 2 days and we scheduled a sonogram for 5 weeks. And I'm saying, okay, let me get my calendar out because 5 weeks. And he said, no, next week. I said, wait, but next week isn't 5 weeks. Next week is only 1 week away. And he said, you're 4 weeks pregnant. I said, what? It's like, this is sorcery. Really? I'm 4 weeks pregnant now? Yes. Because what they do in the lab
Right.
is 2 weeks plus the 2 weeks.
Right.
Like, wow. Hey, I actually get to have a 9-month pregnancy instead of a 10-month pregnancy this time. It completely blew my mind. I had no idea that it worked that way. So we went in for bloods 2 days later, scheduled my sonogram for the following week. And my levels were so high. You're supposed to go in 2 days. And then I think in another 2 days, they said my levels were so high, they didn't need to do another one.
Wow.
I said, so high like twins? No, they only put in one embryo.
Right.
So
it can still divide though.
That would be the only way.
Yeah.
And he had set the expectation that twins are not a good thing. Twins are a complication. You're 50 years old. Do you want to be on bed rest your entire pregnancy? Oh, because I had hoped for twins.
Me too.
But he said, you think that you want twins, but trust me, you don't. You don't. It's a complication. So much can go wrong. Be happy with one. And no, I don't think your levels are high enough that it's twins. But I got right onto Dr. Google and was looking it up. And it was like, well, it kind of could be. I think it could be. It wasn't. It was just one. It was just, we kind of talk ourselves into these things.
Definitely.
So the day of transfer, we had one embryo that was ready. We transferred that. By the end of that day, there was a second embryo that was ready. And by the next day, there were 2 more that had developed that were matured. So out of 18 eggs, we got 13 mature eggs, 10 fertilized. We ended up with a total of 5 embryos. So we have 4 frozen and the other one's running around wreaking havoc. But it's crazy how the numbers work like that.
Yeah.
And then I think they just, if I remember correctly, it was just one more checkup with them and then released to the OB. And it was, I thought, okay, now I can relax. Oh, wait, nope, I can't relax yet. We got to wait until we get to 12 weeks. At 12 weeks, then we can relax. No, wait, you can't relax at 12 weeks. We got the biophysical profile, the anatomy scan at 20 weeks because we didn't do pre-implantation genetic testing. So they had both been checked for a ton of things and everything was fine. But still in the next developments, things can go wrong. So now, okay, hold our breath for that. You get through the 20-week scan. We found out that she was going to be a girl after the 10-week bloods, which again, they take more vials than you ever thought imaginable. Like, wait, but they took all my blood before the pregnancy. There's not going to be anything left. And I didn't even know that they check the sex when they do those 10-week bloods.
Really?
Yes. I went for, I think it was the first appointment or the second appointment with them at the 12-week mark. And they said, do you want to know if it's a boy? Do you know if it's a boy or a girl? And I said, no, we don't know. My son came with me. And they said, well, do you want to know? And he said, yes. They said, it's a girl. He went, oh, a girl. He really wanted a boy. He got over that quickly and he was fine with it. And he came to a couple of appointments with me. I brought him when they did sonograms, pretty much every appointment because of my age. instead of doing a fundal height, measuring your belly, which they did with my first pregnancy, straight into the sonogram room. And they want to get their measurements that way, which I'm not sure that that was really accurate because they said she was going to be well over 10 pounds.
And she was
713.
Oh my gosh, that's way off.
Yep. And because they said she was going to be so big, I opted for a C-section because I was afraid of shoulder dystocia getting stuck because my son was 7'7". So they're saying she's going to be well over 10. Because they thought she was going to be that big, they opened my C-section, not the standard 10 centimeters, which is just under 4 inches, but 20 centimeters.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yep. I measured it edge to edge. It's like hip to hip.
Wow. Wait, can we talk about your pregnancy a little bit? How would you describe it overall?
Yeah. The pregnancy was good. I carried small. So every time they were telling me that the baby was huge, the doctor would look at me and say, I really find it hard to believe that you're carrying a big baby. But the measurements are the measurements. I felt like I was going to split open right below my belly button. Like I felt so much pressure there. But other than that, I felt like I was carrying small. I did everything. The only thing I didn't do was I said, I was fanatical about not getting mosquito bites because I had read about Zika virus and the microcephaly. So I was fanatical about that. And I didn't want to go to any place tropical while I was pregnant, but no real cravings. It was kind of the same cravings I had with my son for fresh fruit and vegetables. Nothing fun. I have a sweet tooth normally, but when I was pregnant, I really craved fruits and vegetables more than ice cream and cookies. And
interesting.
Yeah, it was weird. But yeah, I started the difference. I felt a lot more. I could definitely tell she was bigger than he was, and she was half a pound bigger. The odd thing, when I was about 7 months pregnant, I started having what I thought was Braxton Hicks contractions, which I had with my son from 4 months on. But I figured it's just because I was working out so much with him. I wasn't working out a lot now, but I was having them. You'd watch my entire belly would get hard and kind of pull in, which I later found out that was actually real contractions, full contractions. Braxton Hicks are just under the bottom of the belly. If it involves the top part, then that's actual real contractions. Someone said that they're called prodromal. It's prodromal labor, which is not really labor. It's just contractions that do not change the cervix. And I had a lot of swelling with this one. We were down visiting Gus's daughter in North Carolina, and I squatted down with one leg under me and one leg out, and I felt my right leg get really tight. And when I stood up, it just went swelled like crazy. And then I looked like I had on 2 different legs. My right leg, my ankle went away. I had a cankle on that leg, and the other leg looked normal. Over the next probably week, because we had driven to North Carolina. So we drove back, and by the time we got back, both legs were swollen. My hips were swollen. I was basically swollen up to just under my chest, and it would come and go. Putting my feet up didn't help. Drinking water didn't help. I never tried compression socks, but it was the summer. So I didn't really feel like socks up to my knees. It was bad enough with the heat, which the heat didn't bother me during my first pregnancy. But the swelling, I wear a 6.5 shoe, and I had gone to Marshall's and I bought a pair of these really squishy slide-on sandals, figuring that they were going to give a lot more room. I bought them in a size 9.5. And a week later, I couldn't get them on my feet.
Wow.
It was ridiculous. I had gone from wearing the cute little maternity tank dresses that showed my belly to wearing maxi skirts to hide my legs because they looked like
Oh,
tree trunks.
oh gosh.
They looked painful. At one point, I think when I was 32 weeks, I was at the OB just for my regular appointment, and they grabbed my ankle and left a complete handprint like it was Play-Doh.
Wow.
And they said, okay, you know what? Just to make sure that this isn't preeclampsia or something with your heart, go to the hospital. Doctor will meet you there. So they sent me over there. They did an EKG. They did an echocardiogram. They did a chest x-ray. But this was over the course of about 12 to 14 hours. I had to have my parents met me at the doctor's office and drove me to the hospital. So my car was still there. They were afraid that it was something with my heart or lungs. So they didn't give me fluids, which if you don't have fluids, that starts contractions.
Oh no.
So now they're sending me into early labor while they're trying to figure out what's going on. Contractions are getting painful. I had to pee at one point just because there's so much fluid, and my mucus plug came out. The nurse came in afterwards and she said, did you see that? I said, yeah, I saw that. The contractions are really stepping up. They finally got they had done bloods to check cardiac enzymes. They got the x-rays. They got everything back and they said, okay, you're clear. Let's give you some fluids and see if we can stop labor. But by the way, you're dilated to 3 centimeters and we want you to do the steroid injection to develop the baby's lungs in case we can't stop labor. Great. This is like a freight train. Once I started hydrating, the contractions started slowing down, but they scared me with telling me about the steroids, saying, well, there has been a study that showed that children who got steroid injections in utero have a greater chance of developing autism. What? Autism or ADHD? I said, what?
Either one.
But yeah, both. Some had one, some had the other. Then I was terrified. I was like, well, no, I'm not going to take the injection. Why are you? No, you have to take the injections for the baby's lungs. But you're telling me that if I take the injection, it could make my baby have autism or ADHD. Yes. Why? No, I'm not going to take it. But if the baby's born, then she may need to go to NICU for underdeveloped lungs, and then a whole host of other things could go along with that. So Gus's daughter is actually a labor and delivery nurse. And my friend that has triplets who were born early is also a labor and delivery nurse. So I reached out to the two of them and said, this is what they're telling me about the steroid injection. Tell me about this. And they both said, we have never heard that. And we have never said that to anyone. No, take the injection. If you don't take the injection, the baby's probably going to be fine anyway. You're 32 weeks, but take the injection. I don't know what they're talking about. I have never heard of that study. Just do it. So I did the injection. Oh, that hurts. That is way worse than progesterone shots. And once they got me fully hydrated, contractions stopped. And then,
oh, good.
All of a sudden, one morning I woke up and the swelling was gone. Then I had legs again. It was the strangest thing. And then 2 weeks later, the swelling was back. And from that point on, it was there. It was gone. So I have no idea how much I gained, because you can gain 15 pounds overnight with the swelling.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And then it would go away and you're like, wait, where is it coming from? Where is it going? It was strange. one new thing that happened with this pregnancy that didn't happen with the last was, oh my goodness, I peed myself every single night. It would, by the time you wake up, I would wake up to have to pee. And okay, bladder's super full. I live in a small 2-bedroom apartment. It's not a long way. It's maybe 15 feet from my side of the bed to the toilet. By the time I would get to the toilet, I could not even get my underwear down fast enough, and I was peeing. I said, this is ridiculous. I was so embarrassed at first. And then I started keeping extra, when I would, before bed, I would put fresh underwear and pajamas in the bathroom so that I could just change right there. And I moved the hamper into the bathroom. So, and then I started, once I got closer to the end, it was happening more. So then I started putting the giant diaper size maxi pads in my underwear. It was every night I would wake up when your bladder is really full, that it starts contractions because it pushes on your uterus. So I'd wake up, make it or not make it to the bathroom. And then when I get back to bed, I'd sit there on the edge of the bed waiting for the contractions to stop because it would just be, they were painful. And I kept saying, okay, this is going to be the day. Nope. Because they would eventually stop.
Yeah.
But it was painful enough that, like, you're not moving. You're just sitting there until it stops. I was due October 14th. My C-section was scheduled October 7th. And then I convinced them to move it to October 4th. I actually wanted them to do it October 1st because I thought 10/1/21 would be a cool birth date.
Yeah. Why not?
They said, sorry, they're all booked that day.
Oh.
Apparently a lot of other people
like the date
had scheduled C-sections for that day because we scheduled it months in advance.
Right.
A lot of people thought that was a good birthday. So I still had almost 3 weeks left with her, due on the 14th. September 28th, that morning, I woke up, didn't quite make it to the toilet as usual, changed myself, put a new diaper pad in there, went and sat on the edge of the bed. I was waiting for the contractions to stop. And finally I said, they're not going to stop. I'm exhausted. It was 5:00 in the morning. I'm just going to lay down. And as I leaned back and went to swing my leg in, I felt a pop and a gush.
And you knew.
But, yep, we're going. And I took a look at it, and it was this khaki greenish tan. And I said, that's got to be meconium. That's not a good thing. So I went in and I woke up Gus, and I came in here to Aiden, and I said, my water broke. And he sat bolt upright and said, oh, baby's coming today. Yes. Baby's coming. So I called my parents. They came to get my son, and we went to the hospital. Neither of my deliveries were fun deliveries.
Go on about that.
This time, we figured, okay, it's going to be a C-section. They said, you're old. You were geriatric at your first pregnancy. So, well, if I was geriatric at my first one, what does that make me now? I'm like a dinosaur.
11 years later.
Yeah. I'm like, what is super geriatric? And in between, I had some health issues when my son was younger, where I had developed, he was like 5 or 6, where I had developed IBS, and I had IBSD, and that was a lot of time on the toilet. I would wake up at 4:00 in the morning to have a bowel movement, and sometimes from 4 a.m. to noon, I would go 20 times, and had no idea about pelvic floor health. Had gone back to working out and running. I ran a 10K. Went right back into the advanced ab moves that I used to do. Had no idea about diastasis recti. And in all of my ignorance, created a cystocele and a rectocele. So a cystocele is your bladder falling and protruding through the vaginal wall. And you look down and it kind of looks like there's a pink golf ball coming out of your vagina.
You can physically see it. Wow.
Yes. Yes. And the rectocele is your rectum doing the same thing. That was a lower grade, so that wasn't coming out. Well, I thought my uterus was falling out of me. And that's not what it was. And I went to the doctor and they said, well, actually, it was really embarrassing. My sister's a physical therapist, and I had mentioned to her, I think my uterus might be falling out of my body. This is not good. And she then called up my mother and father, and she said, Shaz having a problem, thinks her uterus is falling out. So my father calls me up. Can we say mortified? My father calls me up and says, I hear that you're having this problem. You need to go to the emergency room. Well, I just got to put on a pair of tight jeans and I'll go to a doctor next week. And I actually did put on tight jeans, figuring that's going to just hold everything there. And they said, no. So my parents actually came and my dad stayed with my son. And my mother took me to the emergency room, and Dr. McDreamy walked in. It was Dr. McDreamy and Nurse Barbie.
Oh my gosh.
Can we, mortified, like just let the bed swallow me up right now? Yeah. So I ended up with a referral to a urogynecologist, which I didn't even know that there was such a thing. And the urogynecologist specializes in body organs falling out the bottom, basically. It didn't help. I had also did extended breastfeeding with my son. I nursed him until he was 3. And that keeps your estrogen low. And the estrogen, one of the functions of estrogen is to help keep all the tissue down there pliable. I was single. There was no extracurricular activity other than running going on. Extracurricular activity also keeps things healthier down there, exercises the muscles. So it was just kind of a perfect storm that everything. I had noticed that tampons didn't work so well after my vaginal delivery. And I just figured, he wasn't tiny. He wasn't huge. He was 7'7", but, he kind of tried to pull everything with him on the way out. Later found out it was, a whole bunch of things. And that doctor had said, we're not going to do anything now. You want to have another baby. That would destroy anything that I would help you with. I asked for, I had been doing research and found that with physical therapy, you can do wonderful things for your pelvic floor. And anyone that's pregnant, I encourage them if either go see a pelvic floor PT, or there's some amazing ladies that I follow on Instagram, the Bell Method, Ashley, I don't know what her last name is, but she's on under SLAM, Strong Like a Mother. And there's a couple of others. There's Empower Your Pelvis. And they all have programs designed for while you're pregnant, because if you learn how to use those muscles right, you can literally breathe baby down and out, and you learn how your pelvic floor gets out of the way and baby comes and doesn't take everything with it. So yeah, absolutely do that before. Better to do it before than to play catch up afterwards. But they put the fear of God in me that if I had another vaginal delivery, I was going to be walking around dragging my bladder behind me. Yeah, it goes a grade 1, 2, 3, I think, and 4. Grade 3 or 4, basically whatever your prolapsed organ is pretty much outside of your body most of the day. All prolapses resolve when you lay down because of gravity. But then when you stand up, I was a grade 2. So if I had pressure, running, jumping, I was going to pee myself and things were going to protrude and I was going to want to do an inversion afterwards. So I had said, you know what? Maybe a C-section is not a bad thing. And people had said that their C-sections were no big deal. Easy. Up and walking like it was nothing the next day or that day even. So when my water broke, we had a scheduled C-section, but then my water broke and I get to the hospital and they say, okay, so do you want a C-section or do you want to deliver?
You get to decide?
They said, what? Yeah. I said, why are you asking me? I've only done this one other time. They said, well, you know what? Let's put you on monitors. Let's see. I told them my water broke, that there was meconium in it. They said, okay, we need to get a COVID test. We can't do anything until we have a COVID test back. Keep your mask on. It probably wasn't, your water probably didn't break. You probably just peed. I said, no, I had already peed. I peed. Then I got back in bed. Well, tried to get back in bed. And my water broke. Felt a pop, gush, khaki color, meconium. No, I don't think that that's what it is. They put me on the monitor. They said it'll take about an hour to get your COVID test back. How is that possible when we do them at home in 15 minutes? 2 hours later, I'm in full active labor, dying. I'm begging them to give me something for pain. I don't care if you give me a shot of Demerol in the thigh. Give me something. Epidural, Demerol.
They wouldn't give you anything?
They wouldn't do anything until they got a COVID test back. Yeah. They finally get the COVID test back and they said, your COVID test is negative. Oh, and by the way, it was your water that broke and there was meconium in it.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, okay. So by now, my water broke at 5 a.m. I got to the hospital. I left the house at 5:30. I was at the hospital by 6. It's now after 8. My water's been broken with meconium in it for a while. I'm starting to panic because that can be bad for baby, really bad. They can aspirate it. And they're still, we think you could probably deliver. You're 5 centimeters. You could continue and deliver, or do you want a C-section? I said, well, what are the chances that baby's going to get stuck? Because they're telling me baby is in the 90th percentile for size. I said, no, she's actually in the 98th percentile for size. I said, what? This does not make me feel better. They said, well, whatever you want to do. I said, well, this is my high risk OB, Dr. Bernasco, and Dr. Budnick is my urogynecologist. So you guys know them? What would they recommend to do? They said, oh, Dr. Budnick, she feels that vaginal births are barbaric and she would tell you to go for a C-section any day of the week.
Oh my gosh.
Like, oh, okay. All right. And I hadn't found all of the pelvic floor health for what to do while you're pregnant until afterwards, a little bit after the fact. Had I known, and had I known the real size of the baby, I would have just gone ahead and pushed her out and been fine. But we didn't. So I finally said, do the C-section, do it now. I'm dying. I need an epidural. So they put me in a wheelchair and it was like a comedy show. They're wheeling me back from the isolation in triage to labor and delivery. And as we're going, every time there was a contraction, there was a gush of fluid. She hadn't put anything under me except the chuck pad, one of those thin little, like a puppy pad. There is a river behind me. People are yelling to her, "You're making a mess. There's fluid. We finally get to the room and she looks back and I looked back and, there was, it was a disaster. Absolute disaster. Now they have to wait and they have to get a room ready and they have to get doctors ready. So it was still about another 45 minutes. It's funny. I don't use bad language. During one of the contractions, used the F word. And then after the contraction stopped, I was like, I'm really sorry for my language. They said, "You're in labor. Say whatever you want. It's fine. Nobody cares." I think I peed on the way during contractions. I was wondering if, they say you're going to poop during contractions. I was like, I don't know what's going on down there. They're changing the sheets. They finally get me in. They get the spinal in, which is a little bit different than an epidural. It's just, I don't know, different spot or something, higher or lower. I think it was higher, and it acts a little bit differently. And they get me all strapped down. And it's funny, Gus had been saying the whole pregnancy that he was going to be the first one to hold the baby. And I kept saying, I have carried her for 9 months. She has made me pee myself and feel like she's going to split me open. I am holding her first. And then there I am, strapped down. Like, well, okay, I guess I'm not going to hold her first. And I had no idea how big that they opened me at the time, but they did the C-section. They pulled her out. And the first thing they said was, "We got a redhead." It was not healthy baby girl. It was, "We got a redhead." And then they said, "Daddy, come over here and take a picture." One thing I was worried about once I got pregnant was at delivery, how would I feel about her? Yeah. Like, would I feel like they were handing me an alien? Yeah. Because she wasn't conceived of me.
Right. When
they pulled her out, tears started running down my face. Now, my son, my first child, made me a mother. I had waited 39 years for him. Terrifying delivery. I didn't shed a tear. Not a single tear. I felt a connection to him as soon as they put him on me and put him onto nurse and all that. But I was worried with this, like, what's it going to be like?
Yeah.
She's in me. I'm feeling her move while I'm pregnant. And I think he feels the same. And I can't wait to meet her. But is it going to be weird?
Yeah.
Like, I've heard of people not bonding immediately with their newborn babies. Uh-huh. And I said, it didn't happen with him, but I was terrified that it was going to happen with her because she was donor egg. The tears started flowing the second they said, "And we have baby." Oh. And Gus said, "Are you okay? Why are you crying?" And I just said, "She's here. She's here." And he got to hold her first. My body temperature dropped so low. I was so cold. They had to put warming blankets on me just from, I guess, the blood loss and the room being cold. They had heating blankets on me. I couldn't hold her for like 3 hours.
Oh, no.
Because I was so cold. It was going to make her cold and drop her body temperature. So he got to hold her first and for hours.
Oh, so not fair.
It was so not fair. It was absolutely not. But it was an amazing experience.
Yeah. Well, going to your recovery and bringing her home, how was that?
Yeah, that was rough. I decided that I was going to be a hero and I was going to not take the hard drugs it was either Oxy or Percocet, whatever it was. I was going to take the ibuprofen, and that was it, because in my mind, it was going to be bad for the baby to take the hard stuff. And once the epidural wore off and the pain started, they said, I had some young nurses, and they said, just get up and walk. I was like, okay. I was getting a lot of zingers. Have you ever had your teeth whitened and you get those zingers, like little electric zaps in your teeth? I was getting those in my incision and in my legs.
Whoa.
And they just kept saying, you got to get up and walk. You got to get up and walk. They said, put the baby in the bassinet and take her for a walk around the floor. So I said, okay, I'm going to be that overachiever. And I did the big loop on the floor, not the little loop. And by the time I was done, the pain was so bad. I was nauseous. I had a headache. I couldn't eat. I couldn't drink. I just really couldn't get a handle on it. And it was day 3. They were going to let me go. They had told me on day 2, they were going to let me go on day 3. And I was so wrecked. And then I got a different nurse, and she was a seasoned, experienced mom, had a vaginal delivery and a cesarean. And she was a nurse for 25, 30 years. She said, you got to take the Percocet or Oxy, whatever it was. You have to take the hard stuff, because if you're in pain, your body can't heal, because your body is just producing cortisol as a stress response to the pain, and you're not healing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're going to take that, and we're going to layer that with the ibuprofen and the Tylenol, which I was already taking those. We added, after delivery, the swelling came up. I didn't even have a vaginal delivery, and I looked like I had elephantitis of the girl bits, of everything down there. I was so swollen. The bottoms of my feet were swollen, everything. So she talked to the doctor, and we added a water pill, basically a blood pressure pill. My blood pressure was fine, but just to get rid of the swelling, we added a water pill, a gas pill. We added an acid reducer, just like Tums, like a chewable one. And the most magic and mind-blowing of all of that combination, in addition to the muscle relaxer, which I was skeptical about helping, it did help. You can get the pain in your shoulders. It doesn't feel like gas pains. It feels like muscle spasms, but it's gas pains. Lidocaine patches. She took a lidocaine patch and put it just above my incision.
Uh-huh.
And as soon as that went on, all the zingers and the leg pain vanished.
Wow.
My absolute biggest tip to anyone going through a C-section is take the hard drugs. It doesn't affect the baby at all. And lidocaine patches. You get them over the counter. Years ago, they used to have commercials for Salonpas, and they would show a man grabbing his lower back, and then they would show a big white patch on his back. They're like this big. Uh-huh. Magic. Absolute magic. So take all the things. If you have swelling, ask for the water pill. Once I took the water pill, the swelling went down by 50% within hours.
Wow. That stuff works fast.
Yeah, it was amazing. Still did leave the hospital wearing only the hospital socks. And mom fail. We had the car seat, but it hadn't adjusted any of the straps. So we're standing there in my socks holding her, and daddy's trying to get the car seat sorted out. And I was like, ripping the extra padding out of it and trying to fix the straps. But he was so good. He basically brought me 3 meals a day for 2 weeks to wherever I was, either the couch or the bed and I just set myself up with a little caddy with diapers and wipes and extra clothes for her and all of her things. And that just came with me wherever I was. We'd bring wheel the bassinet out or have it inside. I was determined to breastfeed and have an easier time than I did with my son. I did it for a long time with him, but it was a struggle for most of it. And this add the C-section and all of that on it. I thought that his vaginal delivery was difficult to recover from. And then I had the C-section. And I said, I didn't realize how easy I had it the first time because I was not one of those people that was up and bouncing around with my incision still stapled or stitch cut shut. This time they butterflied it shut on the outside.
Whoa.
I'm hoping that the next one, I was talking to a midwife about doing a VBAC and she said, I'm all for VBACs, but you know what? Go in, have your baby, let them do the C-section and be done with it.
Wow. That's surprising.
Yeah. Because she said, don't ever lead with my age. She said, you look younger. Don't lead with your age. Because if you lead with your age, the doctors are going to tell you no. If you really want a VBAC, just go in there and tell them that you want a VBAC and they'll work with you on it. The biggest risks of a VBAC is having it close to the C-section, less than 18 months, because then that tissue is still healing.
Sure.
But she said, when you add the prolapses, just go have your C-section and be done with it. Take the medication, heal from it, and move on your way with your beautiful family. Like, I could do that. My parents were good.
And mentally, how were you?
Mentally, I was fine. Everyone kept kind of planting suggestions that I was going to have postpartum depression and to try and get out of the house. And I just want to be with her. I really didn't have the baby blues at all. And I had read that with subsequent pregnancies, it can be more likely to happen. But I was completely fine with it. It's just been fun.
Well, are you ready for Instagram questions?
I am.
Okay. Our first question, it's not a question, says, thank you for sharing your motherhood story and inspiring others to go for what they would like.
I'm very happy to. So many people think that if it hasn't happened by a certain time in a certain way, that it's not going to happen. And if it's your dream, if you know it in your heart of hearts, that this is something for you, go through every door and every window to make it happen. The dream was put in you for a reason.
Okay. Our next question asks, did you find health professionals to be judgmental or negative at all?
Only the first set. Only the first set. After that, well, you know what? Not true. Because even the fertility doctor that I used at some point made a comment of, if you feel the need to carry the child yourself. And I was a little bit put off by that, but we were already in the process and I wasn't going to turn around and leave that then. The initial fertility doctor saying, no, just no, because of your age. No. What do you mean? No, I won't even talk to you. And then saying that he did tests, said he never did because he didn't think it was worth his time to do it. The doctor that I went to, the GP that I had my physical with, saying that, why would you do this? You're going to be giving your life over to someone for the next 15 years. Well, kind of, that's the point. that, yes, that's what I want. And there's, that doctor, we just took the conversation further, and he's been a doctor of mine for a while, and he is a good doctor. And he came around full circle to say, okay, you know what? I really see where you're coming from with this.
Okay, our next question is, do you have a page to follow your journey, as it is so encouraging to see someone older having children?
I'm absolutely on Instagram. It's just Sharon Colmar, SharonKollmar. I feel like I didn't do justice in documenting my journey because I was a little bit afraid of judgment. So I do have some of it documented. The next one I'm going to document for the public, everything from step one right on through, because you know what, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what anyone else says.
That's right.
And our journeys are our journeys for a reason. This one is going to be shouted from the rooftops, every jab, every struggle, every bit of it. That's how it's going to go.
Good. I can't wait to watch. Okay, her next question is, do you know of any help offered for anyone anxious about birth, etc.?
Yes, there are. You have to look in your area. There's phenomenal birthing classes, which will help that. I feel like a lot of the anxiety comes from the unknown.
Yeah.
I was pretty much fully unprepared for both of my births.
Our next question is, I'm 45 and would love to have another child. How can I overcome my fear?
Just walk forward through your fear.
Mm-hmm.
The fear is not going to go away. The fear is other people coming into your head, telling you, it'll be too much. It'll change your family. Why do you want to do that? Why would you want to start over? Be happy with what you have. Just feel the fear and do it anyway.
Mm-hmm. That's perfect.
The definition of courage and bravery is doing something while you're afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to do it and kind of give it up to God and know that if it's meant to be, it will be, and it will be fabulous.
Okay, our next question is, were you given, you've already answered this, by the way. She says, okay, were you given the choice to birth either way, vaginal or C-section?
Yes. And I kind of wish I either wish I hadn't been given the choice or I had prepared better. I went into it kind of being steered just because of my age towards the C-section, but I should have, in hindsight, I should have prepared for a vaginal delivery so that when I got to that point, I really could have made the choice for myself out of knowledge instead of fear. I made the choice for the C-section out of fear of a vaginal delivery. It doesn't help when your urogynecologist refers to a vaginal birth as barbaric.
Uh-huh.
It's only barbaric if you haven't prepared. Mm-hmm. And if you're all tensing up and your pelvic floor is tight and you're trying to get through something that's reacting to stress. Whereas if you're prepared, you work with your body, and it's the most natural, beautiful thing. And our bodies were designed to give birth.
Our last question is, did you have any fears about if your body could take pregnancy, and if how? And if so, how did you overcome them?
I did have fears with that because I had dealt with IVF and, other little annoying things. But now I was 11 years older. I had dealt with IBS. I had the prolapses. Other people were telling me that the pregnancy is going to put a lot of pressure on the pelvic floor and make the prolapses worse. And I knew that if the IBS acted up, that would make the prolapses worse. So I really beforehand decided to I did a couple of things. I was very thin, 5'4", and basically about 104 pounds is my typical weight my whole life. And so I consciously made a decision to up my body weight. I put on 10 pounds so that I had some fat reserves, because your body plays nicer when you've got a little bit of extra. So I upped my body weight. I also did a nutrition plan. I did the Arbonne 30 Days to Healthy Living, and I did 3 months in a row. And in that plan, you eliminate gluten, you eliminate dairy, you eliminate caffeine, white sugar, you balance your blood sugar. So they're always, because I was always thin, they're always checking my thyroid, figuring that I'm going to have a thyroid problem at some point. And gluten, most people don't have a problem with gluten, but the gluten molecule looks substantially similar to the thyroid hormone molecule. And the body mistaken identity will attack the thyroid, thinking that the gluten is excess thyroid hormone.
Oh, fascinating.
So a lot of people that are having thyroid issues or even fertility issues, eliminating the gluten actually helps their body to regulate out. I've seen people get off of thyroid hormones or reduce the amount that they need by eliminating gluten.
Okay, so that's all of our Instagram questions. But since you are preparing to have another one, do you know when you're going to do it?
Probably, I'm thinking within the next 3 months. I just went and had my mammogram and breast ultrasound, and I had my pap smear done, and I just had my physical this past week, and I have my prescription for my stress test and my blood work. So I have to go get those done. And then I'm going to circle back. I figured I'm going to do all of these before I go see the doctor, the fertility doctor, so that I can walk in and say, look what I've done. I've already done these. So let's just jump on it.
What has been your biggest challenge being pregnant at 50?
The biggest challenge, I think, was just feeling it more. But again, I think that it was because I was not in as good a shape as I was the first time. Because I'm even not being in as good a shape, I'm still in pretty good shape. It's really funny, people's reactions. I always found that comical because I look younger than I am. And when I would be talking to people that were my age who've got kids going to college, kids getting married, they're becoming grandparents, and there I am pregnant. What? That's insane. You have to be able to just laugh it off. I would rather be an older mom than not a mom at all.
Definitely.
And I was older when I had my first child. So, late bloomers right here.
Right here. That's right.
We got a whole table in the cafeteria for the late bloomers.
I love that. Is there anything you'd recommend that would help prepare someone for pregnancy and birth over 40?
If it's going to be something that's planned out, start getting in shape beforehand. Absolutely. Pay attention to nutrition and physical condition, even if it's just going on a 1 mile walk a day or a 3 mile walk a day. If you can add yoga, great. If you can add weight training, great. But do something. It is way harder on your body than you think it's going to be.
What advice would you give yourself when you were pregnant if you could go back?
Be more prepared. Go to the classes. do the prenatal yoga, go to all of it. Don't just assume because I've studied it in school that I know it. Mm-hmm. Because knowing it in a textbook and knowing it in practical application are two different things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I figured I didn't need it because I've studied it and I'm good. I studied it when I was in college, studied it when I went back to school for massage therapy, studied it when I was doing nutrition. I studied it when I was doing personal training, but I didn't really know. None of that really prepares you. And that's just surface. Mm-hmm. So my advice to myself would be take the prenatal courses. And this next time, even though I'm now a seasoned mom and this will be baby number 3, I'm going to go take the prenatal classes, the birthing classes and all of that, go to Lamaze and really immerse in all of that because it is such a short, fleeting time period. I pray that I get to do this again. And I say this time, I'm actually going to savor it all. It's to not get so wrapped up in life that the pregnancy is kind of a sidebar. You really want that to be front and center because one day the details are going to fade.
Yeah.
And you're going to say, well, wait, did this happen at this time or this time? Mm-hmm. So document it. There's a lot of ways that you can document it to make it easy on yourself. You can set up an email for the baby. If you pick the name, set up an email and document everything along the way and email it to baby.
I'd love that
and then
idea.
You have it there.
Yeah.
Because if you email it to yourself, it's just going to get lost in everything.
Yeah. This is specific to just the baby.
Yeah. And then you can put that together and it's just a really sweet memento. And then there's all those different services for photo books and things where you can put annotations in them.
Yep.
Do that. Every time you take a belly pic, do that. And once a month, send all those and you'll have a whole photo book of your entire pregnancy.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Take a picture in the same shirt, in the same place, 2 different angles, front and side, every month. Mm-hmm. So that you have that to compare. With my son, I did that better because I was working out. So every morning I was up and I would go to the gym. And when I get back from the gym, I had on my little workout top and my little shorts or pants. And every week I would do a front and a side shot. And I didn't do that this time. Mm-hmm. So do that. Even if you're cringing looking at it, do that. Because later on, you're going to wish you had.
Yeah.
You really will. It's document everything.
Yeah. And Sharon, will you give us your Instagram handle one more time?
It's SharonKollmar. I wasn't real original. I just did my name,
That's
Sharon
okay.
Kollmar.
That's perfect. I enjoyed listening to your story so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
And that's Sharon's pregnancy story at 50. I can't wait for her next pregnancy. I'm so excited for her. And on next week's show, we have Janlyn from Arlington, Texas, which is actually not too far from me. She has a beautiful rainbow IVF story, and I can't wait to share with you. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next Monday. Bye.